Hey guys, and welcome to episode 69 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
Hey guys and girls, welcome back to the show. Good to be here with you. So, there's lots been going on. John's episode seems to have really resonated with lots of you, especially the parents out there talking about the children going through their sport and their development, etc., and making sure they're developing as a whole person rather than just concentrating on their sport, which is brilliant. So, I know we were getting John back on later in the year after just to see how he's developing, what's been going on in terms of his philosophy and where he's going next, which would be a great show. It's really fun having someone in the studio. And as always, guys, been getting lots of messages through from people needing help with chronic issues. So, lots of articles at www.reviveyourself.co. We've got our free mini course there for anyone with a chronic issue, and also been getting lots of messages through to Ryan at reviveyourself.co, just people asking about helping them with chronic issues. With our programs, guys, just to let you know, people always inquire, our programs aren't like where you get everywhere else. We don't just give you something and tell you to go away. Our health programs are holistic. They incorporate obviously nutrition, but we look at the mental emotional state. We work on the energetic healing. We work on everything, movement, introspection. So we cover everything. The body's holistic. It is a holistic entity, and it needs to be treated that way. It's no good just me giving you some nutrition and go away. Also, throughout our programs, you get put in a closed Facebook group, and you get unlimited support from me throughout all of our programs. So I don't just leave you. We're in constant contact. Having been through that myself, where been to see doctors and they've charged me $1,000 an hour, and then something goes wrong, I need to see them again, another $1,000. That wasn't wasn't any good for me, because I needed help in between. Healing's never linear, it's never A to B. So in our programs, you do get guidance and direction all the way through that. Okay, and I'm with you throughout the whole thing. As you can see in our testimonials, you can head on over to www.reviveyourself.co. You can look at testimonials over there. Just wanted to clear that up, because I've been getting lots of questions about that. What makes us different? What are our programs about? People have seen lots of results we've been getting. So just wanted to put that shout out on the podcast for our listeners. We're with you every step of the way, and our programs cover everything, and we've got a whole process that we go through, which is very different to other people and other companies. Having said that, today's episode is going to be one that probably really opens the mind, opens your eyes to things in regards to chemtrails, HAARP, nanotechnology. It's with a lady called Susanne Maher. She's got her website called Bye Bye Blue Sky. You can see it at byebyebluesky.com. She's awesome. It was a phenomenal interview. We covered lots of different aspects, and to say as we go through it, don't get down about things. Lots that we can do, but we do cover lots of important information that you need to know, as this is coming to us in the form of 5G and the form of attack from the air as well, and electromagnetic frequencies. So without further ado, here's Susan. Enjoy, guys, and I'll see you on the other side. So guys, I'm here with Susanne Maher, and we're going to be talking all about chemtrails. Susan's another guest from Canada, over in Ontario. How's it out there today, Susan?
I'm glad. Thanks for having me on, Ryan. Appreciate it.
No worries. The weather good out there today?
Actually, the weather's been very strange here. Right now, we had a hot spell. It was really, really hot. And then the past few days have been freezing. So this is what we call that whiplash weather that we're getting. But it certainly doesn't feel like June in Ontario, Canada.
No.
It's
we've had it's pretty warm actually. We've had some really hot days. Really hot days, but it's been quite muggy, very humid, very humid. But so let's talk all about chemtrails.
Sure.
And what's going on. So your website, Bye Bye Blue Sky. I was saying to you before, like, there's just so much information on it. Sometimes it can be a bit of a war. There's so much, because I suppose this is a topic that, I mean, there's oh, your little dog. there's, this is a topic where, I mean, there's so much information in it. Some people are still skeptical on it, even though I don't know how they can be. But yeah, just tell us a little bit about Bye Bye Blue Sky, how it started, and what you've been up to.
Sure. So I founded Bye Bye Blue Sky probably about 4 years ago. And what prompted me to do this, Ryan, was, I was aware of a lot of things going on in the world. I was aware of, the fluoride in the water, the genetically modified foodstuffs, the banker bailouts, all that kind of thing. So I was certainly aware of corruption on that level. What I wasn't aware of was geoengineering. And what happened was I was on a website one day. It was a very young girl, and she was about 10 years old at the time, might have even been younger. But anyway, she was selling jewelry. And a large portion of the proceeds of this jewelry were going to geoengineering. And what she was saying was that she didn't want to go outside anymore because the skies were no longer blue and we were being sprayed. So, I've always been a curious person. I'm always interested in what's going on. So I thought that was really strange. Her name was Hannah. The organization she founded was Blue Sky Jewelry. So after Hannah told me this, I donated a few dollars, and then I proceeded to investigate this topic. And sadly, what Hannah said was true. And I think it's a real testament to the power of a child's words, Ryan, that this young girl educated me, Susanne Maher, as an adult, that something was going on. So after she told me about this, I did hundreds and hundreds of hours of research and found out, sadly, that what she was saying was true. So, after I really didn't know initially what to do with this information once I found out about it, because it's such a huge topic. And I think we all, on some level, go through a grieving phase, because everything we found out, as we're told to be true, is not. So, I wrote a lot of poetry. I joined Facebook, and then I thought, I really want to do something. I really want to kind of create something that can let people know what's going on. So I founded Bye Bye Blue Sky. And what we do, pretty much, we do a lot of things, and but we do creative communication, which is our billboards. And I've done a lot of different campaigns, but I've gotten up, over 30 billboards in Canada and the U.S., so that's huge. We do educational events, so I've done pretty much everything. I've done boat shows and malls and food supplement stores. I've just gone all over Ontario. A friend of mine, Tony Pantelleresco, and I just did a green living show. It's the biggest green living show in Canada, or actually North America. So it's quite a coup to get in there. So we did a 3-day green show, and this topic is really becoming mainstream. It's no longer conspiratorial because so many people know about it. And so we also do protests, so many different types of protests. So that's rallies, marches. So all trying to get the word out there. And what my main objective is, Ryan, is to make the topic visible. And I think I've done a pretty good job of that, with everything I'm doing. So this is kind of historical timeline of how I founded Bye Bye Blue Sky, and where I've got to where I am now.
No, awesome. Just Susan, your partner Tony
Pantelleresco. He's a
Pantelleresco. I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure I heard him on Extreme Health Radio once.
He's amazing. He's a very, very good friend of mine, and we collaborate a lot together because he's an expert. He's a chemist, herbalist, alchemist, and he's been researching nanotechnology for about 5 years now, after he was heavily afflicted in Arizona. So Tony's actually in Ontario as well. He's in Windsor. I'm in Toronto. But we get together and, we collaborate a lot. We did the green show together, and we're always on our microscopes together, looking at things and, discerning what's going on. But he's a brilliant guy, and I have huge respect for him because he doesn't follow the party line. He tells people the way it is. And the issue is now with even allopathic medicine is absolutely futile. But even alternative medicine, it's a challenge because they don't understand. If they don't know the paradigm we're in now, they're not going to be beneficial. They're not going to be helping people's health if they don't understand the genetic modification that is going on at this time. So Tony completely gets the paradigm. He does consultations. He's really helping people. The emails he gets, honestly, Ryan, and there's a lot of clients he actually has in the UK. So he's helping people with cancers and autism, diabetes, you name it, autoimmune illnesses. He helps me. I was diagnosed with a few different autoimmune illnesses. As far as I'm concerned, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, Lyme's disease, they're simply no more than the environmental poisoning from the geoengineering.
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to people about Lyme disease before, and it was this lady had been walking through this same field. It was in America for years and years and years, and it always had ticks in it, and she'd never got bitten until later on in her life. And it was like, well, was it because she'd just been lucky for 40 years, or was it because over 40 years of modern lifestyle, finally her immune system had been worn down, these ticks saw her, and all of a sudden they're opportunistic, they take over, and that was why. And it was one of these things that if your internal health, if your life force, your chi is not strong, then these things take over, and they're a big problem. That's why I always trying to on our show just talk about everything. The food's one aspect of a big pie that is cut into many different slices, and this is a big issue. I remember him saying, I think this is like the biggest issue of our time at the moment, because this along with 5G, actually. 5G is another one, because that I did a show with Jason about that. I was talking to you about Jason Christoph. You two should definitely link up, and talking about the real reasons behind 5G and what's going on. It's very sinister. And before, you can avoid vaccines if you want. You can avoid fluoride in your toothpaste, and you can get a water filtration system for your house, and you can turn off your Wi-Fi, etc. But with chemtrails and 5G, you're almost like there's very little that you can do if you're out in it. I mean, obviously I want to talk about that, what you can do, but as in most people don't even understand it.
Yes.
I think you'd agree with us. It's the most important issue of our time, right?
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything this truly is the most important issue of our time, because what they're doing is they're genetically modifying our planet, and they're genetically modifying humanity without our knowledge. Well, some people are aware of it, but not many, but not with our consent. This is not with our consent, not with our knowledge. And, people have the hubris to think that they can manipulate and have dominion over our planet and the people. And so that's what's going on. We've got a select few, small group of people who, are owning, controlling the weather, and also owning and controlling humanity through the various means and ways that they're administering, these types of weaponized items. Everything, you look back, Ryan, right from the 60s, we've got a weapon of choice every decade. So we can look at, nanosilica was being put in the grains in the 1960s. We're looking at vaccines in the 70s. We're looking at genetically modified foodstuffs in the 80s. Then we're looking at, computers started in the 90s. So the frequencies, 21st century, the cell phones. And now we've got the 5G, we've got the chemtrails. So we have to look at this, and this is how, sadly, I look at it. It's from every form. They always, sell something to us like it's going to be a panacea, and it's always for the good of the people. All these things are weapons. Everything is a weapon. And so this is why we have to become awake, aware, and then we can mitigate this toxic fallout through all these things that are coming at us. And it can be a little overwhelming. So I say it's really important for people to do their research, to listen to people like you, with your guests. And so have a good basis and a good foundation to know how they can mitigate what's going on. Because, I always say, once you learn this, you cannot unlearn it. You can't turn it off. Like when I found out about geoengineering from Hannah, I just was constantly looking at the sky. I could not. How could I? And I feel it's also our social, moral, and ethical responsibility, once we find out about this, to do something about it, because we are caretakers of our planet. We are stewards of our planet. We're not here just to become fat and happy. We've got to do something, because they are pillaging all of our life support systems with this stuff.
I mean, we're not even fat and happy anymore. Well, most of us. I mean, the ones that I see that are happy are definitely not fat, and the ones that are fat, they aren't happy. I mean, as I said before, like we're meant to be this incredibly clever race, yeah, but yet we're fatter than sicker than ever.
Yeah.
We've got more doctors, more therapists, more healthcare than ever before, and yet we've got more disease than ever before in our history. I mean, so this is the thing we talk about a lot. Like the masses, they don't care. Give me my Netflix, give me my Coke or my beer, give me my cigarette, and I'll literally just almost live a life that's just dead behind the eyes, just because they're literally just like sheep being taken to the slaughter. Yeah, we need to talk about this because people are. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm almost at a point where I'm actually scared. Not scared. I'm actually debating whether or not to bring children into this world. Because really, like, I know I'm only 32 and I've lived a great child, and I'm not going to keep on doing this, and hopefully we're going to win this battle. But the reason they're doing all this is because we're getting more and more conscious. We're getting this out to more and more people, and they're going to try and push this to try and get rid of us. But do I want a child? I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to let them win that. Obviously, I would, but it's just a point of, look, we need to get this. We need to get this out to people, because otherwise, it's going to be a world that's not going to be fun for them to grow up in. All virtual reality, literally living in a matrix. And that's not going to be fun. So, I mean, just for people out there, we're talking about chemtrails, which they used to say were just like the exhaust fumes of the planes, and because it's so cold up there, these exhaust fumes would stay in the air. It's like, yeah, when I go outside and I breathe, my breath isn't in the air for 30 minutes afterwards. Yeah. So you've got chemtrails, and we've also got HAARP.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so just tell us a little bit. I mean, what's the difference? I mean, HAARP controls weather through different electric magnetic stimulation, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And chemtrails is the chemicals they're putting into the air.
Correct. It's really, they kind of go together like Mutt and Jeff. It's a spray zap effect. So you spray the air with these conductive metals, which could be anything, aluminum, barium, strontium, lithium, ethylene dibromide, you name it. So they spray these chemicals and then they zap them with the HAARP frequencies. And, HAARP is so big now, Ryan, that it's Alana Freeland, the author who wrote Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth, she's coined what they're doing, the space fence, because what they're doing is creating an electromagnetic grid around the planet. And basically to imprison us, it's basically an electromagnetic gulag. So again, these frequencies, there's so many different types too. There's Gwen towers, ground wave emergency networks. There's cellular towers. The HAARP stations, there's probably about 20 around the world. They emit billions of watts of power. And it's sprayed or targeted into the atmosphere, radiated back down into the earth, and it's hitting everything living or dead on the planet. These bases are so powerful, they're strong. They have the capabilities of nuclear bombs. So, again, the first one, Gakona, Alaska, funded by the University of Alaska, deemed it was a research project, but basically, they later admitted it was to exploit the ionosphere. So these frequencies charge the particles, they excite them in the ionosphere, and that way they can, direct and move the jet stream around the planet. So they can do anything they want. So they can create earthquakes through something called tomography, which is mineral exploration. They can create hurricanes, which they've been doing quite nicely in the United States. Hurricane Harvey. This is a good one I like to talk about. This one last August, in Houston, was trapped between two bollards, two high pressure systems for 1 week on land, and it didn't move. So this is unheard of, that hurricanes just blow in and blow out. That's what they do. But this one was trapped because they were containing it. They wanted to hit Texas. So, and what was also interesting is there was weather modification going on 550 miles away in Pecos, Texas. They have some YouTube videos, and there's a committee blithely talking about seeding the clouds 550 miles away with an oncoming hurricane in their wake. So this is the recklessness of what these people are doing there, and silver iodide, they say it's innocuous, but still a very dangerous thing. And you look at the safety data sheets on silver iodide, and it causes huge respiration issues, vision issues. It can turn blue. You can turn blue. You can become very sick. So this is pretty much what they're doing. And it's all under, it's spearheaded by the United Nations and then implemented
Shock.
Yeah, spearheaded by the United Nations and implemented by the military-industrial complex and all their think tanks. So it's very cross-pollinating. All these organizations, the three-letter agencies, Monsanto, they all feed from the same trough. They're making a lot of money from these disasters. Naomi Klein coined it disaster capitalism. So, when you have the inside skinny on a storm, you can go in and clean up and make a whole lot of money, which is what they're doing. And they can do this also through weather derivatives. Chicago Mercantile Exchange trades weather derivatives. So it's all, once you start digging in, and doing some research, it's so blatantly clear that this is a very, very serious agenda and covert and compartmentalized as well. So oftentimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. So the pilots may be told, they're putting the chemicals in the jet fuel to mitigate global warming. I'm sure that's what they're told. And then so that's what they accept. And often they're signing confidentiality agreements, and, there could be threats to their lives, their families' lives. So they're really not allowed to speak about it as well. So very subversive, very subvert, and very dangerous.
No, it's extremely dangerous. I mean, this weather manipulation, it's funny because Nikola Tesla did this over his house to begin with. This was we've had this for years, this technology, and I think a lot of his stuff all got taken away. So a lot of people don't even know who Nikola Tesla is. And I mean, it's funny because there's companies out there that you can pay to get the weather you want over a certain area. It's no surprise that the royal weddings both had lovely sunny days over them. But this is something that this is what I was going to say. Like these pilots that are doing it, they know. They know. You reckon that they actually would have to press a button to release this, or it's done automatically, or they actually having to sign things. I mean, this is the thing I said to. I mean, I don't know. Do you know Paul Check at all?
Paul Check? No, I don't think so.
All right, look at he's another one. Look at Paul Check. He's an American. He's basically a holistic godfather. The guy is a living legend when it comes to this stuff. But I was saying to him, I was talking to him about this, and I was saying, these people, don't they realise what they're doing to the earth? I mean, it's just going to end badly for them as well. And he was like, well, they just spin a lie to themselves, believing it's okay. I mean, they do anything for money. And this is the thing. I don't understand. I really can't get my head around how they don't understand what they're doing to the world. Just because it said the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Yeah, knowledge gives you the ability to build the atomic bomb or the nuclear bomb. Wisdom tells you should never build it. And this is just because I know you're going to expand, and maybe it's part of our journey to get to a point where maybe that's part of our thing to where we get so powerful and can manipulate things that we destroy the planet, and maybe that's the only way we learn. God is all things, right? It's the left, it's the right, it's everything. But this is, I get why they want to manipulate stuff. If they're doing it for the good, or we had an asteroid come in and they wanted to manipulate the weather so we could get away from an asteroid, or whatever it was, do it for the good of humanity. This seems always only to be for their agenda and to detriment of the people so they can get whatever they want. I mean, when you're talking about the history of weather modification, when did it start?
Oh, well, it started a long time ago, the beginning of the 20th century, really. And, there's a guy in San Diego, his name was Charles Hatfield, and he was called the Rainmaker. So he began making rain in the 1920s. Then they started, creating hurricanes and mitigating cyclones in the 40s and 50s. And one of the biggies, and you may have heard of this, was the operation in Vietnam called Operation Popeye, and that's the only reason that was exposed was a memo was left on a desk, and a writer found it, and he submitted it to the Washington Post. So the Pentagon had to admit to this operation. It was a $20 million operation. And that left them with egg on their face. So after that point,
just for our guest out there, so
sure.
what was Operation Popeye?
Oh yes, Operation Popeye was actually, they flooded out the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It was to flood out the Viet Cong trade routes during the Vietnam War. So the U.S. military did that, and so again later exposed. But this is the diabolical nature of these things. This is truly weather warfare. And so after that point, what they did based on what happened to Vietnam, President Carter ratified something called the NMOD Treaty. It was in 1966. It was the prohibition of weather manipulation weaponry. And the problem is with these types of treaties, Ryan, there's no enforcement and there's no teeth. Who's going to be the watchdog to say this isn't going to happen? It was for public, just to appease the public to create something like this. The weather warfare continued. So after 1976, I think they really started ramping up these programs around the late 1990s. Again, this is all an experiment. They were perfecting this. They were perfecting this technology. In the 80s, there was something called the Strategic Defense Initiative through Bush and Reagan. And this was under the pretext of zapping missiles from space, the SDI. And what this was all based on the Tesla technology, but they didn't have the ground-based antennas. They didn't have the HAARP to create what they're able to create now. And so along came a fellow named Bernard Eastland. He had the patent for with Tesla technology to create these HAARP bases. So this is the prototype for HAARP. Began in about 2001. So they, began spraying pretty heavily in the late 1990s, and now they had the ground-based ionospheric heaters to make the ionosphere battery ready or electric. And that's kind of what's been going on and been going on ever since. And we can even look on smaller scale operations, like you mentioned. You can get a rain-free wedding day for $100,000. I mean, I know that's in the UK. I think it's Oliver's Travels. There's a company in the U.S. called Weather Modification, Inc., and they've been in existence since about 1961. And they have 4 clients here in Canada, in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. And so they openly state they can, disperse fog, mitigate hail, create rain. And these are the smaller scale operations using silver iodide. The larger scale operations are obviously covert, but we do know about them. There was one instance in quite well known here in Ontario, in Espanola, Ontario, where a fellow, he was a Supreme Court witness and a police officer, and he was witnessing this. These people in Espanola were all becoming sick. There was almost 600 people that became sick. It was a native community, and they were taking pictures of the United States Air Force tankers. And it was later determined that this was high toxic levels of aluminum, high enough to kill fish, they said, and 7 times the amount that Health Canada would allow. So these are the types of things that are going on. We've got Operation Large Area Coverage. That's another one that was very well known. It was biological agents which were being dispersed all over the U.S. And that was zinc cadmium sulfide. So no informed consent. And so many people are becoming sick, and they wonder why, because they are so laden in these metals. And we're taking them in every day, and that's another issue. We're constantly reloading this stuff, Ryan. So I encourage everybody to get a hair analysis or a water analysis to see what's going on in your body, because so many people are getting things like dementia, Alzheimer's, respiratory illnesses. They're finding magnetite in people's brains at this stage. Carbon nanotubes were found in children's lungs in France. So, we've really got to wake up to the situation and start asking some hard questions and why we're breaking down, because we all should be living to a fairly old age, kind of falling off a cliff like we did 100 years ago, living a long, fairly healthy life and then dying. But these are so many protracted illnesses. There are gestational cancers now. There's children on diabetes pumps when they're just a few years old. And what they're doing is they're hypernormalizing this. They're hypernormalizing this as this is a natural thing. It's more pharma drugs, and it's not. This is.
Yeah, we're diagnosing it better. Piss off. And all this stuff. Like, oh really? So why are all these tribes that never get touched by a white man? How come they never even heard of the word cancer? Only we have, and all these other things. It's like they've made it. We talk about this in the show. They've made it so like the right seems wrong and the wrong seems right. They've almost changed it so that people believe this. Oh, it's okay. Like everyone's got an illness. It's normal. No. It's common. It doesn't mean it's normal.
Yes.
And these things are big issues. I just want to go into that. Where you said that silver iodide. What is silver iodide?
That's actually a chemical compound. It's to create clouds. So it's not a safe thing, and it's in high quantities it can really damage people. But that actually is kind of playtime compared to what they're doing now. Silver iodide is very old technology. I mean, what they're using now, I'll tell people what's in the chemtrails now. There's 3 components. There are the chemicals, which I mentioned, the lithium, the barium, the strontium, the arsenic, the lead, the mercury, ethylene dibromide. Then you've got the biologicals, which are molds, fungi, weaponized viruses, desiccated blood cells. And there's a really good video. They say over 43 different chemicals. And then you've got the nanotechnology, the third component, which are smart dust, nanoprocessors, and microsensors, which act as GPS 24/7 tracking systems. We're becoming transceivers, transmitters, and receivers. So those are the 3 components of about 43 different biological substances and chemicals being sprayed on us. And I was going to mention Dr. Elia Sandra Perlingari talks about this in a YouTube. It was to I think is the University of Massachusetts or the Law Institute. And she's telling these people what's in them. And a lot of these chemicals, she said, were made in Fort Detrick, Maryland, which is supposed to be a cancer site. So this is where she said that many of these substances were being made. So,
what was her name again?
Her name is Dr. Elia, Illya, Sandra Perlingari. I can send you a link to the YouTube.
Perlingari, yeah, I'd be interested to watch that.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I've got so much to watch, a million things, and it's just like because I've always got. I mean, I've got my next, I think, 80 guests lined up, but then I talk to people like yourself, and there's about another 4 or 5 that they mention. I'm like, oh my god, I'm trying to get it out of there, and it's just, but it's always fascinating stuff. So chemicals, biologicals, and nanotechnology. Like, so just to play devil's advocate. Why? We're not even playing devil's advocate really, but is there? I mean, what would their excuse be saying like, oh, we're just getting rid of rubbish? Is that what they're doing? Do they say that it's the same as what was the other thing they do? It doesn't matter. I've lost it in my mind there. But is it this just getting rid of their way of just getting rid of all the waste that we need to get rid of? Is that what they say it is, rather than all these things? I mean, why would they put molds and live viruses in this stuff,
This is to break people down. This is a very lucrative thing, too, to have a sickened, subservient population. That is one thing. And, they die, so what? They're collateral damage. At the end of the day, when you look at what they're putting in there, when all the synthetic biology and artificial life, it's a transhumanist agenda, and that's what they're herding us into through the frequencies and through the nanotechnology. So it's kind of this 1984 Orwell, but on steroids. I mean, and I think eventually they will erase humanity. This is their end game. The humanity, as far as they're concerned, is pretty much a scourge. So.
Really, that's what you think? I mean, talking to Jason about 5G, they were talking about how they want to get rid of 75% of the UK population before 2025, I think it was. That's only in 8 years, 75%. Why would they want it? I mean, is this Agenda 21, 2030? I mean, what is their reason behind getting rid of humanity?
Oh, I don't think they'll get rid of it totally. I mean, they'll need their slaves, right? They'll still need their slaves, but they're not interested in keeping humanity around. And if I have to describe this is an anti-human agenda. Absolutely an anti-human agenda. So they want the singularity. If you've heard of Ray Kurzweil, the singularity, AI will become the God. They've talked about this, and they're actually made a church of the AI. So AI will become the new God, and it will become, this is Agenda 2030. This is carbon taxation. This is a one world government, one currency, and that's what we're looking at. So people smart enough to run the machines, but dumb enough not to question what's going on. Just order followers.
Yeah, they showed us in every book. It's only films, but you've seen it in everything. Like AI. I mean, even in the one with Will Smith, where I can't remember the name of it, but he's got robots, and the computer works out that humans are just bad for themselves, so it just tries to take over and tries to become, he said, the gods. What possible good would having an AI god have for them?
Because they're anti-human and they're antithetical to life. So AI is an artificial life.
But won't that take over them after a while?
I'm not sure. I'm not in their heads, thank goodness. So we can only kind of speculate what's going to happen to them. But you know what? It can only come back to bite them in the bum. Because this is anti-human. This is totally demonic. This is demonic.
Similar to what David Icke talks about.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I mean, but because we're on different frequency, different wavelengths to them, and we're operating at that, and we'll get this. I mean, I always said to Jason the other week, I said, "Are we going to go to war with this?" I don't know. We are. I mean, in our own way, this is our little way of going to war against, to get the information out to people so they understand, because there are far more of us than there are of them, and this will only happen if we let it.
Yeah.
And so we can do what we can do. So, I mean, I don't know what you're going to say on that. Was you going to say something there?
I lost my thought there. I can't remember what I was going to say.
No worries.
Yeah.
So
I think it was salient, but I lost it. Yeah.
That's all right. Okay. I was just going to say, so for people, like the effects on the ecosystem and effects on our health, I mean, especially on the ecosystem, it can't be, I mean, so even if people are trying to grow organic food, etc., or people are trying to live as healthy as possible, surely this is just affecting the ecosystem in every single way possible.
Well, yes, absolutely. It's devastating our ecosystems. We're getting colony collapses, so we're losing our bees and our birds and our fish. The bees are in their pupae. I think it's called pupae. They're finding aluminum, so they're getting dementia. Our bees are getting dementia. The ones that are left. There's scientific papers supporting that. The trees, we're losing trees in the trillions. And what's happening is they cannot uptake the nutrients from the soil because they're becoming aluminized. So our trees are dying. They're just they're so scorched. They're not able to uptake anything, and they're developing something. It's called chlorosis. So they can't uptake photosynthesis. The biggie, one of the biggies, is sun. We've got at least 22% less sunlight now from what they call global dimming, from these chemicals blocking the sun. So that's very serious, and that's wreaking havoc on everything. And you're looking at, huge molds, funguses, proliferation of insects, and all kinds of things because of the lack of sunlight. So we need it for our immune systems. We need it for vitamin D. We need it for strong bones, and we're not getting it. So, they're even seeing people getting rickets again, which is something that was kind of unheard of. That was, we weren't getting that. So it's incredible, the devastation. And in terms of our health, I mean, with these metals, again, we're getting dementia, respiratory illnesses, cancers, autoimmune illnesses are through the roof. And that's the thing. We never used to have these kinds of autoimmune illnesses, and they're standard fare. It's diabetes. It's just we're breaking down. They're hyper accelerating our immune systems to break down sooner. So what we're also seeing is these diseases progress a lot quicker. Someone who's diagnosed with cancer, can be dead in a couple of weeks because of this nanotechnology hyper accelerates the immune system or completely breaks it down.
So this nanotechnology, how does it affect the body differently to normal technology?
Pardon me?
What's the how does it affect the body so much? What makes it so toxic, nanotechnology?
Because it's a synthetic life form. It's right. Being injected and sprayed in the field, so our GMO foods have it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And it's an artificial life form, and it can take on many forms. It can translocate and morph into anything it wants, and it acts as a mimetic. My friend Tony Pantelleresco showed me that the Lyme's disease under a microscope replicates nanotechnology almost identically. So you're going in, and it can look at like sea microbes, worms, insects. So when you go into a doctor, they're going to say you have a parasite, and this is nanotechnology because it can morph and replicate anything it wishes. It's an AI, it's an algorithm, it's a program that has been inserted inside our bodies. So created in a lab. I don't know where they found this tech, but created in a lab, and it self-replicates, it self-assembles, and it self-heals. So it's very sturdy, encased in these carbon nanotubes. So these carbon nanotubes, which were found in kids' lungs, they hold the payload. So they hold the payload of whatever they want to put in us. So these things network in our bodies and basically are overriding our systems, our immune systems. It's defacing our immune system, defacing our DNA and genetic code. So when you mention not wanting to have children, people need to think about and really mitigate, what's inside their bodies if they're planning on having children, because at this stage we're not sure what's going to be, actually birthed because of this nanogenetic composition that's now inside us. And
what can we do to, for example, living a life, having different foods that are going to be boosting the immune system, anti-parasitic, antifungal, things that chelating metals out.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do we go about? This is a nanotechnology that's like a parasite. So it's almost like it's not. So it's AI. It's not even normal life. It's not even an actual parasite.
It's not a pathology, and that's what people have to understand. And when they call it Morgellons disease, Ryan, which is what people are finding, they're getting these big sores with suppurating sores with fibers coming out of them.
Yeah. I've heard about these. Yeah.
That's a misdirect, calling it a disease. This is a deliberate poisoning through the nano. So, this is, again, a synthetic life, an AI, and there's also...
It's growing into you. It's growing inside of you.
And actually what it does, it's, I think it's 100, anything above 100 nanometers will stay on top of your body and network. And if it's under that, then it will go inside, and it actually networks from the top up or the bottom down. And there's certain foods which we can talk about that will help mitigate it and not be as aggressive, because this feeds on our carbons, our sugars, our proteins. This is very insidious, very, very insidious. Tony Pantelleresco, he's done and his partner Brian 396 have done such extensive research on foods, and they're saying that soy, grains, rice, sugars are such a no-no, because those are carbon-based foods. So any wheats, sugars, cakes, cookies, that will make the nanotech grow and expound exponentially in your body. Will make it grow. So you avoid that. GMOs, they are actually more heavily laden because they've got the nanosprays from the field. They're spraying nanosprays in the field. What else? If you're juicing, a lot of people are big juicers. I used to love to juice. Filter the greens, because you have to look at what's out there and what's exposed. Even if it's in, your food is in a greenhouse, it will still be exposed because this is the thing. These nanoparticles are so small. They're less than a micron. And so this will penetrate your blood-brain barrier, and our bodies don't recognize anything that's under a micron. So that is really something important to note. These are nano, so small we can't get them out unless we use these methods. What Brian and Tony found that works really well is so mitigating foods. If you're eating fruits, try and eat the citrus fruits with skins. If you're eating things like berries, they're saturated. And if you even get a little small 60x scope, Ryan, and you can put your food underneath it, you will see the fibers, the fullerenes, the bots, these things networking on your food at this stage, and you can't wash it off. The thing with the skins is at least you can skin the fruits, and the material will still be in there. It's still embedded right into the DNA of the plant material. So that's good to know. So the greens, as I say, anything that's exposed, if you're juicing, filter it. Filter the greens with an oil so you can skim the oil off because it aggregates. Nano doesn't really tend to like fats, saturated fats. So saturated fats, although they've demonized them, are quite good for us, especially right now. So eggs and ghee and lard and butter will help mitigate that. What else? There's so many things, and you look at our cosmetic products and our sunscreens and our soaps, all this has nanotechnology in it. It's been ubiquitous, and there's no federal standards for this stuff. It's just put in there. So canned foods and things like that, anything canned, dollars to donuts is going to have some kind of nano in it. Titanium dioxide, silicon dioxide, that's nanotechnology. Titanium dioxide is in a lot of our candies. So they're hitting the kids that way. So they're going to.
It's in a lot of products. It's in a lot of skin products as well.
It is, and cellulose, which is it's actually connects with the silicone and titanium. That so it makes the nano grow quicker. That's like a wood pulp. That's in a lot of our supplements. So that's the thing. And I encourage people to read their labels now because people aren't reading labels. And get your supplements in bulk. That's what I do. And Tony's taught me so much in terms of becoming a kitchen alchemist. I make a lot of my own things. I make my own toothpaste, a lot of my own supplements. I just put them in smoothies. And that's what we have to do because everything, again, our health food, organic is a misnomer. There's no such thing as organic when they're spraying. Everything. What goes up must come down, right? So this is a hijack. Our organics have been hijacked, and as well as our supplements. So most of the stuff in the supplement stores is not very good because of all these additives. And that's another thing. Like when you have these big, huge companies, like Nestle buying up healthcare companies, that the supplements are going to be contaminated. So they either buy them up or they take them out of business. So that's an issue there. So again, to me, it's about becoming aware of the situation and then being self-sufficient. Another really, really good way to get rid of the nano is salting yourself. So do salt baths. I do them almost every day. And it's a combination of different salts, and you can put a little oil in them, but it's baking soda, borax, sea salt, Epsom salt, and then you bathe in this, and you'll see the material coming out, Ryan. You can, even if you have a little flashlight, your tub is going to be covered in these different things. So, and then if you have,
what does they look like?
It just varies. You know what? You can actually go on my website because I have a lot of material under nanomorgellons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look. So what link would it be under?
Okay, so it's right under, let me just see here. I think it's under health and then nanomorgellons.
Yep, got you. Just to people having a little look. Right.
Yeah. It's good to know because you don't know what you're looking for, right? You don't know what you don't know. So once you start bathing and getting a flashlight out and seeing it, and then it's, then you'll recognize it. It took me a little while.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine, like, if it's in I actually have a detox bath, but usually a couple of times a week. But if you're saying do one most days, then
Well, that's the thing, because the issue is we're reloading every night, particularly when you're sleeping that 6 or 8 hours, all those particles are getting right back into you. So
That's
it's
meant to be our recovery time as well.
exactly, and it's not. And so that's when people are really experiencing a lot of respiratory issues. They're all getting up with sore throats, hacking, coughing, because these things are becoming, located in the lungs. So these nanoparticles, these aluminum nanoparticles are lodging in their lungs. So it's important for me to keep a diffuser going, keep a humidifier going. Simple things like this will help mitigate it. If you're doing a bath, Tony actually's got some great videos too, Ryan, on electromagnetic pulsing and stripping. And this kind of seems to be the ticket to getting rid of this, because you can't kill it. It doesn't die. It's a program. It's an AI life form, but you can render it inert so it leaves your body, and then you just keep on doing it. So
this I was seeing here the anti-nano bath, and he said these almost put in wires out of your body.
Yes.
These are like fibers.
These are fullerenes. These are polymers, carbon fullerenes. And yeah, there's all kinds of different things, though. I mean, wires, as I say, worm-looking things, and it's a mimetic, and they're all programmed to do something different and create some different kind of havoc in your body. So, say, for example, one of those wires can be induced to create depression, suicidal thoughts, cancer. So they all have their own program, and it's activated by frequency, Ryan. So this is the thing. So people say, well, how come only a certain amount of the population, if this is true, have these fibers coming out? What is that about? That's because they've been turned on. The frequency turns on this stuff. And if you actually put these wires by electricity, any kind of electrical component, they'll dance. They come alive. Even people's hair, because we're so saturated in this, the hair will come out. They'll start dancing. They'll just...
So this links up to the Internet of Things?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. Yeah.
So when they switch on that 5G Internet of Things?
Physical and human connectivity of everything. Yeah.
And so when they switch on that 5G, these things come to life, and all of a sudden, boom, you've got a big problem.
Oh, yes. And that's the whole thing. So the people that aren't even showing these things, showing this type of manifestation at this stage, they'll think they're okay. But once the 5G comes on, Ryan, this is a whole different ball game, because this is 30 to 90 gigahertz of power. And so just think about like 30 to 90 billion hammers, knocking on your body. We resonate at 7.83. That's one oscillation, 7 oscillations a second, right? And this is 30 to 90 billion oscillations a second. Our bodies simply cannot adapt this quickly. Perhaps we could if it was given some time to gradually introduce it, because we're very adaptable, right? But they're just ramping this up with no federal standards, right? And just going to hammer it away. So there's going to be a lot of issues with this. And the thing is, this stuff doesn't travel. These are very, very short waves, so it doesn't travel well. So it's going to affect the trees, which they actually are cutting down in lieu of 5G. They don't want trees because signals don't pass well through trees, and water. Water. So the atmosphere is going to be affected. Our trees are going to be affected, and it affects the oxygen molecule as well. And the Hertz system that we're on now, 2.4 Hertz, that affects the water molecule. So what are we made of? We're made of water. So this stuff is going to be devastating. I've actually got some health effects for 5G. Hang on for a sec. And it should really scare people that no one's monitoring this technological innovation except the military who created it. This is militarized tech that's been commercialized and sold to us like it's some panacea for faster downloads. This has nothing to do with faster.
Well, this is what we're talking about, Jason. The conversation we listened to was all about Serco and SES, and talking about how they want to put chips into everything, from your vacuum into your computer, into every part of your house, your garage, your doors, whatever. And once they turn it on, these things as well, this signal is so strong, they can move your arms, they can make you go blind, they can switch your brain off, and it's frightening because obviously it's going to happen to us, but then even if you're really healthy, what, all your friends going to die from this, and you're there on your own?
Yeah.
Or your family? It's quite Like, these people need to go.
And that's the whole thing. It depends how this biology in your body has overtaken you, right? If people are detoxing, they're going to be able to handle this a lot better than the people who've been eating grains and sugars, and this stuff is going to be completely overriding their body. And the end of the day, the people that survive this will. It's almost like, okay, they're culling us, and then they're going to see who are the strong ones at the end. They're going to be virtual metahumans, because by all rights, Ryan, most of us should be dead with the assault that we're going through. But we are adapting. We are, a lot of us aren't, but a lot of us are adapting and maintaining our strength.
This is why I always say, I was going to say, this is why when I talk to people about, I know you said like organic is like, but I still rather buy organic than buy conventional, because even if it's on that, it's still not going to have all the other things they put on the non-organic, and the meat's not going to be raised in the same way. So organic's better. And then I have like the strong supplement strength teas, and you do go for the best places you can get your different minerals. You get it for the best place you can get all these different things to boost you. Go for infrared saunas, colonics, all these different things that you can look. You stop cooking your food in Teflon, you use ceramic or glass or whatever, you get a whole house filtration system. You turn your Wi-Fi off at night if you have Wi-Fi. You keep your phone away from you. You put it on airplane mode if you're not using it. All these different things, they all add up. You go and you get your exercise, and at the end of the day, I don't want to sit here and be dooming everyone, because these things are, if they're going to happen, they're going to happen. But you have to just bulletproof yourself best as possible and make yourself as, these things, I would say, because Ike talks a lot about it, and so a lot of the metaphysical and Paul Chek, they talk about, if we're on a different frequency to these things and these people, can we bulletproof ourselves in that way? Is in, like, we're operating on a different frequency than they are. So can we shield ourselves in that way?
Absolutely. It's imperative to keep our vibration as strong as we can, and to recognize that a lot of our thoughts now are implanted thoughts and emotions through the AI program. So yes, keep happy, keep love in your heart, because it's much harder for AI, which is a lower vibratory thing, to get at us if we're vibrating that high. It's much harder. So it's all a combination of things, and recognizing that our thoughts are not our own. These thoughts are not our own. So when we have these negative feelings of anger, depression, frustration, jealousy, this is the program. This is a frequency inducing this in us to keep us down, because this is all about manipulation. So if we all knew how little our thoughts were that are our own, it would be pretty incredible. It would be pretty incredible.
Well, people don't realize how. If people realized how much probably has gone into YouTube and different things in terms of trying to. The amount that the brain's like a photocopier, going into you, and just by looking at these things, these different adverts, whether Netflix, whoever's gone into it, that they can just boom. It's almost like your body can download like a mind virus very, very quickly. So you need to keep. This is why it's so important, even for me, like having conversation with people like you, put this information out, researching that. Don't have the TV on at night. Do your own research. Do different things. Read books. Go for walks. People talk about being depressed. Like, people getting depressed because they're looking at all these things, thinking that their life's not as good as everyone else's, even though it's all bullshit. It's all just a bunch of pictures, and then you're getting chemicals for antidepressant. Do you know what else is antidepressant? Going out for a walk in nature. Going to spend time with your friends.
Yes.
Doing stuff you love. Being a bit like, these are all natural antidepressants you can go out and do every day. For me, this is an antidepressant. Talking to someone like yourself,
absolutely.
It's huge for people who need to understand it. And that, once again, as you said, qigong, tai chi, breathing, good food, exercise, movement, life. All this brings your vibrational frequency up, so you can bulletproof yourself. Usually with the breath work, because otherwise you get down on this. You need to know about it so you can learn about it, and then you can understand what you need to do to move past it. And it's like, don't want people to get so down and depressed about it. Otherwise, it would be like, oh, well, what's the point? And then you're on that frequency anyway, because you're almost letting them beat you with all this. Instead of being like that, take it on board. Okay, this is coming. What are we going to do? We're going to live this way. We're going to do this. Yeah, I can go out and whatever. Sometimes have some. If I'm going to have some food and joyous time with my friends and family, but the majority of my time I live this way, we do this, and it creates it. Your internal health and the way you build your immune system up, I mean, there's a reason, as you said, why all of us aren't ill right now, and it's because we've been doing this, right? I was ill, so I know that you can get through it, but you have to do things differently to the mainstream. You know, I just had a little rant today. There had a woman on the phone with me, crying her eyes out because for 11 years she's had really, really bad stomach issues, and doctors have stopped returning her calls, don't know how to help her, given her operation. They've cut her stomach out, and they're giving her this. She's on 15 medications from different things, and I had a little rant on my. You'll see it when you add me when you add me on Facebook. I said, and they're giving her this food which was called I think it's Ensure Compact or something, yeah. And it's like I looked at the ingredients and I lost my. I was like, these are the medical industry doing this, yeah. So either they're in on it, which means they're awful people, or they're just hugely incompetent. Like the first 8 ingredients were ingredients that I wouldn't give to my worst enemy. They don't solve a gut issue, and it's just like. And this is what I'm trying to say to people: you need to understand and educate yourself and work with someone you resonate with, if you are ill, and get out there. But it's not all doom and gloom. We can do it, and if we all come up, you know, there's a lot more of us than there are of them, and we can dictate this. This is why these sort of things are really important to get you on and talk about, because I mean, some of this stuff that they're saying, make your own nano bucket to remove nanofibers from your body. I mean, these things are coming out, and people go byebyebluesky.com/Morgellons, and you can see what's coming out of people's bodies here. It is frightening.
Some of that's from me as well. It's from a number of my friends, and some from me.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
really. Did that come out when you did certain baths?
Yeah, when I did baths, and actually Tony's devised a bucket, an anti-nano bucket, which is the same kind of idea. It's sticking your feet in it. It's the triangle which he's made. You can put the triangle in the bath, Ryan, and it's almost more effective because you can pulse your whole body, right? With you just putting your feet in the bucket, you can't get to as much of your body. But if you're laying in the bath, the salt bath, with the triangle, I mean, it's really effective. And Tony's got I'm going to give you his website, augmentinforce50webs.com. And you can get...
Augment...
Enforce.
Augment Enforce.
50 webs. And it's
50 webs.
Yeah, in numerics. Yeah.
Yep.
.com. And he's got over 150 YouTubes on health. So if anybody has a malady, you can type in cancer, Tony Pantelleresco, autism, Tony Pantelleresco, hair loss, you name it, you can get a video from Tony, and all natural stuff. So
has he been affected by this himself?
Yeah, he was afflicted, and I don't think it's an accident, because I think there's a lot of targeted individuals out there. The people that are really speaking about this, who they would consider dissidents, are showing the signs of this nano poisoning. So he's been very afflicted with it. He initially thought it was Lyme's disease, and his research partner, Brian 396, both of them heavily afflicted with nano poisoning. Yeah. So they are great people to look at and learn from, because they've been afflicted. So they have the means and ways and protocols to mitigate it. And I can attest that their protocols definitely work. I've been using their protocols for 2 years. So I encourage people who have been diagnosed with Lyme's disease to look at this, because I was diagnosed with Lyme's disease and I never had a tick bite.
Interesting. And this is, has he got these things for sale, or these all make your own?
Oh, actually, so he can make them for you, but obviously at a cost. And there's YouTube videos. He's got wonderful tutorials. So he can show you how to make the triangle. He can show you how to make a bucket. There's also something he's made. Toroidal vortexing is great too. He's got a fan with magnets attached, and this will provide a safer environment. The field resonates, I think, about 3 feet. So if you have this little thing right beside your computer, Ryan, that will protect your space. So he's got one on toroidal vortexing as well, which is great.
That's called what, that one?
It would be toroidal vortexing, I think. I have to find that one, but I think it's just, I'm not sure the name. But if you just Google Tony Pantelleresco and toroidal vortex, I'm sure something will come up.
Okay, cool. And that works. So if that works, if it's next to your computer or next to any sort of device.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll sleep with it beside my bed, because this is when we're really getting hit. And it's good to know that they tweak the frequencies all day long, and they hit us a lot when we're sleeping. So if people are finding they wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, generally that's frequency. They're adjusting the frequency. They want our sleep disrupted. Because again, an exhausted, sickened population is very good for them and good for their agenda. So be aware of that and protect your nighttime surroundings. There's many things you can do. Copper grounding, copper bracelets.
What So when you say they switch the frequency, is this for your Wi-Fi you're talking about?
No. This is. I think these are just stations.
In the air.
Yes, to disrupt us, because they can alter moods and create anything they want through these frequencies, which they do. So I think a lot of this depression, suicidal tendencies, unhappiness is through frequency. I had a friend who was talking to me, and he said, Susanne, he was playing a board game with his friends, and they were all having a great time. And he said a few minutes later, they're all sitting there sad, and they didn't know why. And I said, well, it's frequency. That they were hit with frequency while they were trying to have fun, just simply trying to play a game and enjoy their life. Yeah.
Interesting. And do you know the biggest cities in the world that have been hit with this, or the biggest places? Is it what you'd think, like New York, London, like with Europe and Canada?
In terms of the nanopoisoning or Morgellons symptoms, or just
in terms of the in terms of actually the chemtrails and the nano, yeah.
Well, it's the theory is that it's every NATO nation, right? And they strong arm. If you're signing on to NATO, you effectively agree to be sprayed. But of course, they are spraying in China and Russia because we've seen the Olympics and how they created rain-free Olympic days. So it's really being done all over, and all the islands are being sprayed. So this is a global agenda, and this would be the electromagnetic gulag or space fence that they're talking about. They want us imprisoned in this with this technology in us. It's everywhere.
Cool. I remember you saying that about electromagnetic fence. Who is the doctor talking about that?
She's amazing. Alana Freeland, she's an author. She's researched the deep state for over 30 years, Ryan, and she's done 2 great books. I can send you links for those as well. But she is so heavily researched. Her first book had over 600 footnotes. So she leaves no stone unturned. And, she talks about right from the beginning when they were blowing out the Van Allen belts in the 50s and 60s with nuclear experiments. So this is how, diabolical this is, and how careless, and what they've been doing for so long through this stuff. So she categorizes it right from the beginning and discusses the Morgellons and everything. She discusses the disaster capitalism. It's such a moneymaker to decimate. And geophysical restructuring, they're geophysically restructuring states and countries to their own means and ends for their own reasons. When you look at California right now, to me, it's a prime example of a litmus test in play, because they're implementing all the agendas that are going to be, going everywhere. So you're looking at Agenda 21. So they're pushing everybody out of cars onto bikes and walking paths. They created those Santa Rosa fires. So they're decimating, they're scorching the place. They've been droughting it for so long. They're also doing the vaccines. They're forcing vaccines on people.
Yeah, mandatory vaccine.
Yeah, they're just pushing everything on there. Like they're just going full hog there. So this is what's coming everywhere. This is a foreshadowing of what is to come. So, and I always say to people, they want us to feel helpless. That is their agenda, but we're not. And we're so innately powerful. And that's why we have to recognize our power. And when people ask me what they can do about it, I say, whatever resonates in you. I created Bye Bye Blue Sky. For someone else, it might be something different. But we can all do something, because we all have skills, we all have talents and interests that we can parlay into creating and educating people about this topic. So I'm very positive about what I do. We certainly are in an interesting time, where it seems in a very dangerous time, but it's really up to us. It's really up to us to move the trajectory forward, and to start reading, start researching, and to put our phones down and look up, because people have stopped trusting their own senses. And that's the travesty about this, through the psychosocial control of the media and what they've done to us. All we need to do, Ryan, is look up. All we need to do to realize that there's something very wrong going on. That is the first thing. That's the first step. And then, the world's your oyster in terms of how you want to, parlay this information or do what you want to do with it. But we can all do something. We can all do something.
Yeah, 100%. And for me as well, it's a weird one, because you've got people like like us and my listeners, and I'm sure your listeners, and they're all like doing everything they can to increase health and stuff. And it's just, but if you get one more listener every even if it's one, it's not one, but even if it's one more listener every week, and you change their perspective on stuff, and they come out and they can change. And this is the thing, because although it is one of the most dangerous times in terms of that 5G and this chemtrails, etc., it's dangerous for them too, because this is why they're taking a lot of videos off YouTube, and we're going to have to go on to think it's real video or some another channel. I mean, I'll be on YouTube, but I'm going to move on to that as well, because it's always on my website and iTunes. But they're realising this information is coming out, and so more and more people are getting into holistic living, are getting into breathing, are getting into this, and they might start off just by buying organic and just by having a green drink, but give it a 3-4 years, they keep digging down the rabbit hole, they end up listening to some lunatics like me and you.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Talking about this. When
Yeah.
I say lunatics, I mean massively aware, obviously, but I'm just saying it's just and it's because you dig down this hole and people realise it's not just for food, it goes into everything, and that's why I always talk about this. And so, you know, it's hugely important. The more we do that, the more we get. I mean, David Icke used to get laughed at. Now he's saying out arenas all around the world. I mean, you got loads of people, and it doesn't matter if you want to go as far as into whatever. Even if you don't agree with everything he says, just take on board some of the things he says. It's that thing, and you're talking about lots of people with these movements of different, better foods, organic foods, and so you're still getting the people that are really brainwashed and not into it. As you mentioned before, I honestly believe that there's going to be like a superhuman race in terms of, I say superhuman, just a race that is what it used to be, strong, thriving, rather than ill, and because. But if you don't know, like I didn't know until I got ill.
Yes.
You know, I thought
you don't know what you don't know, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, and Tony talks about these 4Ds. We really have to be broken down in some fashion, like debilitated, destituted, disassociated, dysfunctional. Those were his 4Ds. We have to be, you know, this is our feather tap. Something really lousy has to happen for us to recognize that everything is not okay, because people that are sitting at home and with their comfortable lives, with their sports and beer, you know, they're not going to venture into this realm unless they've been hit by and afflicted in some fashion. So that's the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, humans in general are reactive, not proactive, you know, because but the thing is as well, if you don't, like, for example, I was 18 when I went through my health crisis, and then the medical industry did basically destroy me for 5 years, and I finally found my first mentor, and he opened up my eyes to a different world. But I mean, I thought you could eat what you want. If you get ill, you take a pill and you're fine. It's not a problem. And obviously, the difference between what I was in there, doing there, and I was also playing like top end sport as well, taking things from professional athletes, thinking I'm all right. Like this is what they take, and soon realised that. I mean, I don't know how they survive on it. Later on, they might get injured, or people don't understand what's going on. But it's just. It's not my parents' fault, because they didn't know either, and you only know, unfortunately, unless you know someone like this, unless they're in your friendship circle, or you actually come across them, or you get ill yourself and you find out that what the mainstream's doing, the allopathic model, doesn't work. In fact, it's poisoning you. I mean, this is what we talk about vaccines, and people call you anti-science. It's like, well, okay, well, I tell you what, I'll put all those ingredients into a glass and you drink them and I'll get 25 years to life, you know. How is injecting poisons into you ever going to make you healthy, or live viruses, you know? The fact that aluminium or mercury is in those things bother you, well, without even going into everything else. So, no, I completely understand where you're coming from. And people need to open their minds and just do exactly what they can and go out there and be the change and build up their health and build up their vibrations, and go onto your site, byebyebluesky.com, have a look at what they can do. I'll definitely be reaching out to Tony. I think I'd love to have a chat with him, get him on here.
Brilliant. He'll give you the best interview. He's so knowledgeable, Ryan, on health. He's my go-to guy. He really is. I think that, and at the end of the day, I think when we retain higher intelligence, when we get through this period, that energy medicine, because everything's energy, right? Energy will be the way to go. It won't be anything to do with pills or anything like that. It will be energy.
Do you know Michael Tazarian?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, look him up. He talks about, I mean, there's still people out there talking about how the body can sort of like be self-sufficient, but he digs into like this. Michael Tazarian, have a look at him. It's a T-S-A-R. I'm trying to get him on my show as well. He's phenomenal. He goes into this as well. He's a bit David Icke-like, but he goes in deeper. And you know, I'd definitely be looking into Tony. And but as you said, like it's. I mean, who really wants robots talking about?
I know, and it's already happening too. I know even a hotel in Japan, their hotel is fully housed by robots. I mean,
It's
nobody wants this,
freaky.
and that's the whole thing. These are all unilateral decisions, and people have to be in public venues and having public discourse about all this stuff because they cannot conduct geoengineering without public consent. There's a fellow, and he's done something called the what's it called, the NMOD Accountability Act. So it was Environmental Accountability Act, and it was an addendum to Carter's treaty. And so he wants safeguards put in, and he wants sensors, and he wants 24 hours notice if someone's going to be spraying the region. So I think I guess this is getting legs. There's also, which is it's really good to know, Rhode Island and New York has legislation. It's waiting on the House floor. And so they're legislating not just the chemicals, the geoengineering, but they're also trying to legislate the electromagnetic, because this, in fact, is very much a pollution as well, as we know. So that's waiting on the House floor, and I think it's wonderful. And if that passes, Ryan, we could all potentially use that legislation as a framework for every state and for every country in the world. And
Awesome.
and have safeguards, actual safeguards, and punishments if people break the law.
And these companies, you think they're behind it, linked to obviously Serco and Monsanto and things like that. I mean, fortunately the only thing they've got bundles of money, and they just seem to just pay people off. But how did Rhode Island go about that? What happened there? Do you know?
Well, I know that it was a rep. His name is Rep Justin Price, and he formulated this document with a few wonderful activists, and Jolie Diane, zerogeoengineering.com, and a woman who was very proactive on the electromagnetic area, and Rosalind Peterson, who sadly passed a little while ago. So they were seminal in getting this bill formulated, and now it's just a matter of getting it enacted. And and even that, this bill, in conjunction with Jim Lee's Environmental Accountability Act, we've got some good things going on. We've got some really important strides that have been made.
The thing is, when they spend, like with this 5G as well, they spend like billions of pounds on this, or dollars as well. They're trying to get it, like trillions. It's like they're going to push as much as they can to get it. So we have to be really strong with this. I interviewed Dr. Deborah Davis on this, and she was saying this is and not good as it comes. And people still.
I was just going to say, we can't be afraid to say no. We have to grow some cojones, all of us, because there's so much at stake. So we cannot be passive. We have to say no. No is powerful, and we've just got to stand up and say no. We don't consent to this. And
we need to get it out, though, don't we? We need to get people to understand. Is there things we can sign? Where's the best place to sign these stuff for consent?
Yeah, with 5G, I don't know, like how far along has it gotten in your country?
I think they've put a lot of the pylons are up, and I think they're around London. I think they're testing stuff out, like in early this autumn. They'll be testing stuff out.
So, I would suggest too, if you have a group of people, you actively go into your service provider and you say you will cancel your service. You will not be using them if they go with the 5G. You have to make noise. I just think it's I don't know. They're saying it's, I think, 2020 when they're going to start rolling it out. But we have to make it very verbally known to our service providers that we will not be using them if they move forward with this. And also, I guess, our government and the agencies like Health Canada is not. It's not even like, what's so terrible is they're not only are they not telling us the dangers of this technology, they're not even giving us any safeguards. So they are being woefully negligent in two ways. So, contact your health agencies, let them know, and I don't know, start a lawsuit. There's people suing. Quebec, the province of Quebec is suing their government for all this wireless tech, and they're not only suing the government, they're suing all the corporations that are feeding from the trough and not protecting public safety. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. We're looking into it. So do you work with people one-on-one? Do you work with people one-on-one?
In what way?
helping them get if they got any issues with the nano. Yeah.
Oh yes, constant. Yeah, it's every day. Yeah, people email me, people message me. Yeah, that's fine. I get a lot of emails. Either way, too. A lot of it's geoengineering, a lot of it's health, and I'm getting more and more. And I know Tony is too on targeted individuals. There's a lot of targeted individuals out there. So I can say too, with the computer, this is coming out too, is the blue light and the blue bulbs outside. So
yeah.
They're all pulsing frequencies at us. So that's the thing. Our TV is creating a pulse. Our computer's creating a pulse. Recognize that and protect yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I interviewed Dr. Richard Hanslow, and I've got a few more about blue light. I know it's blue light. People don't understand. Like at night time, it's one. He reckons that. I mean, a lot of these people are saying like this is the biggest thing, and it's like if you're saying this is all the if you're saying blue light's the biggest thing, if you're saying this is the biggest thing, it's like all these things add up together. You know you've really got to protect yourself with this. Have your lights off when it comes to live by the sun.
Yes.
Go by the sun.
Yeah, I have an OcuShield actually on my computer, Ryan. You can purchase those that will diffuse the blue light. And you can use halogen and incandescent light bulbs in your own home. Do not use LED lights.
Mm-hmm. Got Iris. I used Iris. You know Iris at all?
No.
It's another one. It's a good one as well. You can get it on your computers and get it on. Yeah, it's the good one. Iris Pro. Lots of things like that. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll let you go now. I know you've been busy, but people wanna reach out and contact you. Is byebyebluesky.com? Is that the best place to find you?
Sure, it's info@byebyebluesky.com. Yeah, and they're welcome to join my Facebook group. I vet people fairly closely. I want to see that they have an interest there, but they're welcome to join in the conversation because this is what we need. We need people joining communities and coming up with solutions. So please join there. And
what is your favorite? Was it called Bye Bye Blue Sky?
Same name, yeah. Cool. And also, if they want to donate to a billboard, a dollar can move mountains. So I've got a donate button on my website, and every single penny goes to billboards. No administration fees. So this is how we're able to do what we do.
I'll give you a few dollars. Don't worry. I've just sent my request. So we'll be on there, and 100%. It's awesome. I'll definitely, if you just stay on the line there, Susan, and we'll just close the show. But guys, that was Susan. You find her at www.byebyebluesky. Thanks a lot, and we'll definitely be getting you back on, Susan. Don't worry about that.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Ryan.
So guys, that was Susanne Maher from Bye Bye Blue Sky. Lots of phenomenal information there for you. It's another fascinating interview similar to the one we had with Jason Christoph, all about what's going on and all about the things we have to do to protect ourselves. So we'll be getting her friend Tony on. We'll be looking at other guests she's mentioned because I want to get this information out to you as much as possible because I think it's critical. And this is not about being doom and gloom. This is about knowing what's coming so we can protect ourselves and we can be the healthiest version of ourselves as possible. And as we've mentioned in the show, we're going to be vibrating on a different frequency to these guys. We're going to be so healthy, so in tune that these frequencies won't be able to harm us. That's our aim, to bulletproof ourselves and to get education out to other people and to talk to our companies if we need to. These Vodafone, E3, whatever it is, Orange, whatever it is. I don't think that Orange exists anymore. Whatever it is, Tesco Mobile, whatever it is, and say we're not going to be using this 5G. We're not going for it, and we have to make a stand for that, because this 5G is very dangerous, and along with this nanotechnology, off air, Susan was just telling me that she thinks that this stuff is actually not even from Earth. That's how deep this stuff goes. You're wondering if it's she didn't want to say this, but I'm gonna say it to you guys anyway. Whether it's a subhuman technology, and she thinks it. The research shows it is. So very interesting. Anyway, guys. Other than that, as always, if you've got any issues and you need help, then you need some one-to-one help with your chronic issue that's been going on for a long time, then give me an email at ryan@reviveyourself.co. Otherwise, all information, articles, and our free 4-day mini course, heading over to www.reviveyourself.co. Anyone with a chronic condition, if that's you or someone you know, then they've got a free course there. Okay, guys. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. We've got Tom at Staveley from Ancient Purity on the show. It's going to be a great one. So, yeah, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you're struggling with gut issues, such as gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, and want to finally be able to eat the foods you love without the crippling after effects, then don't forget to head over to reviveyourself.co and pick up your free copy of The Healing Health Paradigm today.